Welcome all my lovely goblins and ghouls and vampires of the internet. I'm Anya, your Demon Cinephile, and finally getting to the 5th episode of the series, or Season 2. Don't be afraid, just start the tape. Now, this is answering a lot of questions that everyone's having for a while now, even the book fans. Like, what happened during the interview? What happened during the original first interview between Louis and Armand back in 1973. As the episode starts, you have Louis talking about how now that he and Armand have found their ideal relationship standards, with Louis being the dom and Armand being the submissive. It was all perfect. How they spent almost like a whole month going to this library in, I'm guessing, France, and just staring up at the unique, beautiful reading room. Daniel feels that Louis is trying to hide something or distance himself from the truth. Louis is using a lot of distant words in his speech. But before Armand can say cool, unique words like how, like why this is happening, well, he does say just one cool thing that I do like that. Louis, for his age, a vampire of his age, is finding the narcoleptic pull of the sun. Now, that is actually correct to the books, that the vampires do basically go to sleep as soon as the sun rises in their area. Now, the show has really betrayed this, because almost every time you see them going to sleep during the day, it's because they have to, not because like their bodies are turning against them. So I wish they would show that a little bit more accurate to the book, that they can't really have a choice. They do have to go to sleep. They just know if for better what. Not for older vampires like Armand. I get like a slight by. It's not book accurate, but I don't know. We need to see this more visually instead of just being told to us. Yeah, but before Armand can say anything else slick, this scrawny little dick named Malik pops in. I'm guessing he's a drug dealer or maybe a killer or something. Some brand of evil brought in by real Rashid. Louis says since Armand rarely eats, he makes a sport of it. They find an evil person and give them a chance to escape. If they make it to a certain marker, they get to live and get a ton of crypto. The only other person Armand would eat is someone who's in love with an easy death. Now, this is a little inaccurate to the book because I don't think Armand really enjoys the sport of killing. He's not really like Lestat. Lestat will hunt and pursue his evildoers, his preferred meal of the night. Armand is that someone Louis said at the end though. He is someone who enjoys an easeful death. Armand will lure, seduce his victim, and he would kill them in a way where they feel nothing but pleasure. He will kill them and they will feel nothing. It will be a gentle bite, a left nip, sensations but no pain. Since Armand is going to be gone for a while, Daniel wants to focus on the interview and move it a little less from Paris to more to San Francisco. He wants to remember what really happened between him and Louis. We jump back to 1973. Louis takes Daniel to the house he owns, shows him around, shows him his coffin and the drugs. We're not sure if Louis does the drugs himself or is it just his guest. In the books, Louis didn't own a building, it was just a room he was renting that Daniel followed him back to. And I do like when he shows him the coffin, like, oh, there's a coffin. And Daniel is so weirded out, but it's like, so you jump in and have sex in the coffin? Louis like, yeah, sometimes. You're like the 5th guy I brought here. And he's like, Daniel's weirded out by it. He's like, okay, this is kind of neat, interesting. This is a cool person to talk to. Also, I really love the shot where we have Louis looking out the window, smoking the cigarette. And well, nothing really about from the book, but it's a nice little homage to the original movie from 1994 when Brad Pitt's Louis was standing out the window, out of the balcony. He's all covered in the silhouette. I like the little nod. That was really good. That's really good. So, in 1973 interview is a lot different from the books. It doesn't really seem that much like an interview from what we see. Louis seems to be telling some things out of order. It's more him ranting and making up lies about Lestat, which is actually brought up later in the episode. I like a lot of the lines they used, which are straight out of the book. Like when he says, the frail thing made out of twigs, or how mechanical nature of the vampire's mimicry. I think this is one of the times the episodes, like I know most of the episodes have been like 58 minutes or something like that so far. I really wish this episode was a lot longer. I keep saying that about almost every episode, like, I just want them to be longer. I don't want them to stop once they start going. But yeah, I think this one really could have benefited from an extra length, just to see more of the original interview in its entirety, except for the little clippets that we get. I would just love to sit on the old interview and see how Louis' story differs from the modern telling. Yes, the book's readers know all the stuff Louis is making up, but this would be a fun thing for non-book fans. Like, imagine we hit the parts where Louis is telling a fabricated tale that we see from season 1, but it's all weird and different, and Lestat is making this like even worse than what he really is, or what we saw in the scene. Daniel plays the enhanced tapes put on his laptop by Raglan. Now we get some major changes from the books. So in the old interview, when Louis kirks out and starts to eat Daniel, which Daniel admits that, yeah, he probably had it coming. Armand rushes in and stops Louis from killing Daniel, and it turns out Armand was listening on the interview for, I think, most of the night. Like, he said he heard, like, a whole lot, heard it. The vampire lovers get into a huge fight and say some horrible and nasty things to each other. Louis calling Armand the most boring person on the planet, the basest of pillows. The 10 hours of drugs and ranting with Daniel has been more fun than decades with Armand. Armand expects that Louis is such a whiner. Oh, it's so hard being a vampire. My family hate me. My daughter hated me. And you know what? She never actually loved you anyway. Now that part hurt Louis. That really destroyed Louis. Armand's like, Claudia never loved you. Not like Lestat, not like me. And Louis like, I know. And again, perfect acting from Jacob Anderson. When he breaks down, you feel the crumbling, you feel his sadness. It's such a powerful aura he radiates through the screen. That information also sets Louis off completely. He seems to forget about what happened in Paris, almost. And he starts acting like he can hear Claudia, like he's kind of like how we saw him hallucinating Lestat during the 40s. It seems like he maybe is hallucinating Claudia right here. Because he says he can hear Claudia and he runs out of the room to find her. And what he actually does, he runs right into the sun. I love the effect. It's basically what we kind of saw in season 1, but a little bit more flashy, a little bit more destructive. Like how we see his skin flaking off into ashes, how we see it burning and distorting him. And the makeup. The makeup they put on Jacob to make him look like toasty Louis, Freddy Krueger Louis, was fantastic. I love the charred skin, I love the exposed muscle. It all looked beautifully gory. I love how corpsey he looked. And here we get a lot of, again, I'd say except for a lot more changes from the books. We kind of get a altered version of the Devil's Minion. Now, for non-book readers, the Devil's Minion is a chapter in the Queen of the Damned, the 3rd book of the Chronicles, and it's basically how Armand and Daniel got together. Armand found Daniel not long after he had the interview with Louis, and he kind of kept him locked up for a couple of days. He thought him fascinating and cool, and he's like, I'm going to let you go. I'm just going to hunt you, and if I kill you, I kill you. But eventually, Armand started to like Daniel, started falling in love with him. And then Daniel became Armand's companion. He became his connection to the outside world. He took Armand to plays, to movies, to new shops, to computers. He showed him how to use a microwave, and Armand would throw random things in there just to see what happens. Armand would be onlooker when Daniel got drunk or had sex. It was a very weird kind of relationship where Armand was kind of like a giddy child, and he was learning new things all over again, and Daniel kind of took this weird role of his guide, but also his lover. And Daniel was, at some point during the relationship, he wanted to become a vampire, and it was killing him that he was not a vampire, that he was going to die soon. And he turned to alcohol, and I don't think he was actually more into drugs than other than alcohol in the book. I could be mistaken, but yeah, the boy nearly drank himself to death almost every night, and Armand had to come and save him. So one point when the Queen came about, Armand had to turn Daniel to save his life. You know, Armand really did not want to do it. He wanted to keep Daniel, his little human puppet, his little human love, for a bit longer. Also, vampires tend to turn on the ones who make them. And that's another reason why Armand didn't want to turn Daniel, or make Daniel. Now we get a little alteration of that because when Armand saves Louis from the sun, and Louis like, I'm sorry, I mean to do it. And he's like, Armand's like, oh, you're sorry. Who cares? But when Louis asks about Daniel, like, how's Daniel? How's the boy? Armand starts to freaking lose it. He starts telekinetically lifting Daniel up in the air, throwing him up and down the room. That part we saw in the trailer that really freaked me out. That was that part. And then Armand walks out of the room, ignores Louis. He's like, I want to know what makes you so fascinating. Now, like I said in the book, Armand wanted to find out why Daniel was so fascinating because he was interested in Daniel. And here, Armand is so broken and so pissed that he wants to know what makes Daniel so fascinating because Louis found him fascinating. He's like, why did my boyfriend of over 20 years found you so fucking cool? Basically what he's on about. And it turns into this weird interrogation where Armand is looking at the interview tapes. He's like, I don't care about this. He's like, oh, all these other interviews that you did, meaningless. He starts destroying the tapes, destroying them with his powers, and he starts drilling into Daniel's head. And we get some of those shots and lines from earlier episodes when Daniel was having those flashbacks. So he's like, oh, you stole your father's Playboys and sold them on the playground. Pfft, meaningless. Oh, what's this? You once told a girl in high school you'd do her if she had a paper bag over her head, and you did while she wept. How cold you are. He's not that special, Louis. He's nothing. Your boy is just an idiot. I love it. And we keep coming back to Daniel in the present. He and Louis are freaking out because they have no recollection of this whatsoever. It's slowly coming back to them. And we see them in Louis' like sand pit, or not a sand pit, like rock pit, where I guess he is like some kind of meditation room. And he's like, think harder. They start to remember a little bit more, where Daniel is basically bleeding on the ground because he's been locked up in that house for like 4 days with no medical attention. It's So I'm surprised he's still alive. I ain't sure how he's alive. But yeah, once again, I want to say I love the makeup. But this time on young Daniel, like all the bloody nose, the cuts on his face, the bleeding from his neck, looks all amazing. He like the kid looks torn and beaten up. Like you just want to hug him. No, but the real interesting part, the part that really kind of like shocked me when the first time I watched it, is when Armand is putting Louis in his coffin, and he's letting Louis feed off his blood. Which, did Armand not give Louis any blood during those 4 days? I mean, he could killed any human and brought them back and let Louis kill them, but it seem like he did that. And for non-book readers, when a vampire is badly hurt, he can feed off another vampire's blood, an older, stronger vampire, and it'll help with the healing process. So did Armand purposely kept his blood from Louis for those 4 days because he wanted to teach Louis a lesson? Like, yeah, this is what happens when you hurt me, babe. Yeah, I'm just gonna let you burn for 4 days. But no, so what Armand does, he says, I'm tired of this. You don't want me anymore. You think I locked you in a cage? Fine, I'm gonna go. But hey, I found someone while we were in pain. I found Lestat. I know where he is now. Like, I found his voice through vampire radio. Now, the vampire radio in the book is a little bit different. The vampires, their thoughts can not fully, like, reach around the world. I mean, some vampires can, Akasha, Marius, Maharet, but not really, like, young vampires like Armand. So they kind of need to bounce their thoughts around to other vampires and let them pass the message off. But you know what, doesn't matter, because we get this really awesome scene where Armand basically says, I found Lestat. I found his voice throughout the mini. And we get to hear Lestat talking to him, talking in Armand's head, and Armand relaying the message to Louis. Now, Armand says Louis can't speak telepathically right now because he's hurt. I don't know how true that is, because yes, while Louis as Lestat's fledgling should not be able to hear his thoughts, but as Lestat is projecting his thoughts into another vampire's mind, and that's more or less a-okay. But why couldn't Louis hear it? Was it because he was so hurt he couldn't focus? Was it because Armand was purposely not letting Louis hear any of those thoughts? I wonder. But yeah, we hear our Lestat. He sounds kind of weak and weary, like he's really in pain, which they're following the books. We know why. Yeah, but he is like, what's wrong, Louis? Why are you ill? What happened to you? And Armand's relaying everything Lestat is saying, and Louis is like, doesn't want to hear it. He is still hurt by Lestat. He is still hurt by everything that's happened between them, everything that happened in Paris, which we're probably going to see in the next episode or two. But what I really love and hate and found hilarious and also pissed me off is when Lestat is saying, I love you, Louis. And Armand says freaking nothing. He just remains quiet. Lestat's like, tell him I love him, Armand. Louis. And Armand's like, no. Armand will be anything. Armand is many things. Like Louis said, he is the apocalyptic goblin, the little gremlin, the sweet submissive nurse, but he will not give Louis any reason to go back to Lestat. I do love how one of the reasons why Armand said he's gonna leave is because he had a thought that maybe somehow Daniel publishes the book and Lestat finds it gets so pissed off because of all the lies Louis tells and tries to reach out to him. Now, this is actually what happens in the book, in the vampire Lestat. Lestat finds the interview with the vampire book from his new rock band he joins, and he reads the whole thing. He's like, he is so ticked off at Louis. He's like, you little shit. How okay, this is your story, this is your fumbles and your lies. I'm gonna tell my own story. So yeah, that's basically what happens in the books. Some parts makes you think that it may not do that in the show now, which is kind of sad, but I'm still hoping we're gonna see. Still got a few more episodes to the end of the season. So when Armand goes to kill Daniel, his feast after these 4 days of hell, Louis stops him. We don't hear what Louis tells Daniel, but he says to Armand that he needs Daniel to live, as basically to show that these 4 days weren't meaningless, that our relationship can stand through anything. And he does his little dominant thing where he calls Armand by his birth name, and Armand calls him Mecha. But okay, come on, boys, you don't need that right now. Daniel's literally bleeding on the chair. He's going to die. But no, Armand and Louis pump him with more drugs. Armand pushes back his memories, fills his head with fake ones, and Daniel gets his book, his biography. He quotes something, which what Louis tells him, what Louis told him in the past, basically telling him never to give up, never to stop being what you are, which is a journalist, that there are stories to tell. Listen to these words like it's the voice of God, that repeat in your head like a song, and just beautiful lines that, if I didn't know better, it almost sounds like they were written by Anne Rice herself. One, it kind of calls back to the first episode, because in the first episode when Daniel's commercial is playing, he says, there are stories to be told. And this goes back to around that little phrase is something that Louis gave him, and he just didn't know about it. It's just been stuck with him. His little lifeline, his little reason to keep going. Even after he failed his marriages, even after he fumbled raising his daughters, he never stopped being a journalist. He was always good at it. He knew that this was something he had to be. And this really does paint Louis and Daniel as these kind of friends who didn't know how close they were. And Louis is lonely. Besides Armand and their staff, he has no one. And Daniel seems to be living all by himself, dealing with his sickness all by himself. We get this great moment where they really kind of become friends. Maybe not friends like right now, but you can see that relationship really brewing. And it kind of feels like they could have this relationship like since forever ago. Even they didn't make Daniel a vampire, they could still have been great friends. That Louis and Daniel both lost out on this potential strong relationship. Well, Daniel's like, yeah, I remember when you bit me, everything goes out. Oh, yeah, because we erased your memories. Okay, but why did your brain get erased as well? Both our memories have been distorted at the exact same time. And as it happens, Armand walks back in from his little lunch kill. And as they're talking, he's like, oh, we stopped talking about Paris. We just started talking about San Francisco. And Armand's like, oh, really? What happened there? And like, oh, Daniel wanted to know why you saved my life. Now, when Daniel asked this earlier in the episode, like, why did Armand save me? Louis is like, Armand protects my happiness. He saw a potential in you that you had to be alive or something like that. And it sounds really weird, very scripted. And when Louis asked this to Armand at the end of the episode, Armand says the exact same thing, which has been said, which is has been said, has proven that Armand has been screwing with Louis' memories, not just since that night, but probably for a long time. Now, I found it funny because I occasionally browse on the Reddits for this show, and we have some non-book readers like, why do people keep thinking Armand is worse than Lestat? Why do people keep thinking Armand has some evil agenda? This is it, baby. This is it. This is Armand from the books. The Armand who would do anything to keep his lovers around. The Armand who would mold himself to be anything that his lovers need to be. And the Armand who would who would fuck with your brain because he needs you to be around. No, Louis, I can have you thinking about Lestat. They can't have that. We're gonna change that here and there. Oh, you want to have this interview? Okay, Louis, I'll let you have it. But we're gonna change a few memories here and there. We can't let you. We can't have you thinking that, Louis. We can't have you saying that. I need my Louis nice and happy. Oh god, this show is crazy. I love it. I love it. Yeah, but this is a great episode. Love this old 1970s set. I love the costumes. I love the set that they built. And they really did build the set. You watched the behind the scenes features. It's not like a home. They really did build this huge set inside, just like look like a warehouse. Love movie making, love the magic. Yeah, but this was a great episode. Everything was a lot of great reveals, a lot of twists and turns from the book. It looks like we're getting to some Santiago backstory in the next episode, which is probably gonna be airing the next day after I finish recording this. Yeah, I cannot wait. I'm gonna try to get the next episode out as soon as possible. Not even sure when I'm gonna get these up because I need to do quick little edits and I don't really have the time to edit. I love you guys. Gonna see you in the next video. Please like and subscribe if you made it this far. And comment below what you think about the episode. I really want to know because it was awesome. Okay, I gotta go. Gotta go. Bye bye. See you all in episode 6.